What's going on, Workforce? Brian here.
Chris here.
And today we're talking about your favorite game, Destiny 2. Oh, I got somebody. They're like, wait a minute, I saw that in the title. So we're talking about Destiny 2, and basically the question is that can Destiny 2 be better than Destiny 1? And what does it mean to be better? So with that, let's go ahead and do this thing.
Destiny 1 came into the space, and while first-person shooters have been multiplayer, and while MMOs is a well-established genre, and while they've kind of been combined in the past, it did a lot unique.
Very much so.
It's a true shooter from true shooter developers,
Absolutely.
hardcore through and through.
The moment-to-moment gameplay is what I think kept that game going.
Yes.
Because the reception, the initial reception of the game was mixed. Somebody said it's the best 7.0 shooter out there. It's like, yeah, okay, typically 7.0 is like, oh, this game is not any good, but people poured thousands of hours.
Yes.
Bungie sold millions and millions of copies, continued throughout its life.
Yes.
And so, you're right. You got to look at it as a shooter first, and then there were some weird choices design-wise.
I want a Halo RPG. Okay. Done.
I want it to be online. Okie dokie.
Right.
Here you
Great.
go. I want it to be perfect.
Why don't you just keep coming out with ideas and we'll keep implementing them at a mediocre level?
Yeah, and then I want content to be, really frequent. Nope, missed that bar.
We'll try.
Yeah, we're gonna do our best, and it was educational.
And they're saying this time around that the content's going to be one of the benefits of Destiny 2 is they've been overwhelming in their press about how it's going to be so much more content.
The negative.
Just show me that.
Yeah,
you don't have to come out and try to tell me.
I think I think they're trying to offset some negative stuff, from the past.
Okay.
I think that's why they're really highlighting the story, of the homecoming mission. Because people were like, what the heck is going on?
But who hears that press
this?
release? The only people who hear the press release were fine with your content schedule last time.
Exactly.
Somebody else has moved on. So you got to show me.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
show, don't tell.
So what was your favorite part of Destiny 1?
Destiny 1 was getting the exotic weapons and then running the various content with skulls. And so you could really kind of augment the difficulty in interesting ways. And not that you were making the choice, but they would prepare the content so that, okay, melees are going to do much more damage both for you and the enemy. So you got to watch out to be swarmed. But being able to go in with two of my buddies and challenge some of the hardest content, the Nightfall, the original, they broke it later, and I was like, I'm just not interested in doing it. They brought it back, but originally, clearing the Nightfall gave you a whole bonus for the week, and it even made your character have this little glowy, sparkly thing over their head. And it was like, yeah, so you had the bragging rights, you had the exotics that could augment your entire gameplay and build, and then you had the this interesting community and the mixing of the PvP and the PvE, the shooting, the moment to moment shooting aspect of it had me keep coming back because it became a chase. Like, oh, I would love to have that gun. I want to play with that gun, and it's interesting, and I'm going to kind of set this armor with this. And there's a lot that could have done quality of life. I'm not saying that was perfect, but it sucked me in. Like, as soon as I got my first exotic, I was hooked. I literally, it was like, I'm like, how do I get more?
So Destiny 2 is going to have more game modes.
Yep.
Less downtime, because you can now go point to point instantly.
Oh, yeah. I like that. I like that when they said that.
Those game modes range from things you can do as a group, both pre-made and looking for groups.
Right.
They range from PvP to PvE.
Yep.
They range from public to more private. And in theory, there's loot that's different across all of them.
Right.
So I think it's going to
more guns, more gun types.
I think from that standpoint, it is definitely in a point to beat Destiny 1. What was your biggest complaint about Destiny 1?
The story just didn't suck me in. I was so confused. They put these all the story in these cards that you had to go out to a website to look at. Their website. I get they were trying to have some synergy.
You had to leave the game for a lot of things.
You had to leave the game for a lot of things. Clans, all of that management. So people were, they had a really cool app. So you had your app on your phone, and it really helped you kind of manage. You could change your gear on the fly from your phone while you're in orbit or whatever. But there was a lot of downtime. There was a lot of grinding. There was a lot of imbalance as to how things improved, and so
big list.
Again, like
for one.
Or as,
well, and I think it's a valid point. That's the problem with Destiny.
There isn't one
it's
problem.
It's never one. It's It's little chinks at the armor across the board. No one thing is so broken that the game ever fell down.
There's some big ones, dude. Some big problems. Anyway, sorry.
It's just little. They just kept just a crack here and a dent here, and let's just take a little chunk off the shoulder, and you get to the end, it's like this whole set as a set looks like junk, but it's no one part of it that's failing.
I think the thing that killed, from our game night perspective, and for those of you who are watching this who might not kind of have known what it is, just briefly, we get together, group of guys, one night a week, play a game. Destiny was it for a while, and then it was the content rollout. Like, all of a sudden there became a paywall, and most of the guys were kind of like, hey...
They weren't that into the game.
Right. It became like, why do I need to pay that money for the 5 quests now to be relevant because I can't do this content? And I get it. I get that, you do want to monetize. They are doing these things, but, it felt like their pay model was everywhere. They didn't know how to monetize their game. Paid expansion packs. Then they finally brought in like emotes and various things that you could spend money on, like microtransactions that are more glamour based. Great. That actually, I was like, I totally support that. If people want to have a different look, and they want to spend a little extra money and, just to be unique, cool.
And our friends don't mind spending the money. So now we're trying Gigantic together, and my brothers bought all the characters as a pack.
Right. Why not?
I didn't pay anything. You could pay for skins. I mean, it's not that you can't have a pay structure. It's that nothing about Destiny 1, from the day it came out to the day that they took it, and said, Destiny 2 is the new thing, move on.
Right.
Nothing was consistent. It felt like 20 different games. So I think Destiny 1, all it has to do to be beaten by Destiny 2 is that we just have to have one story this time around. It doesn't have to be a good story. It doesn't have to be a great story. It just has to be, what is Destiny 2? I can tell you. And when I ask you what your least favorite thing about Destiny 2 is, you say one thing. When I ask you what your favorite thing about Destiny 2 is, you say one thing. It doesn't need to be, well, I liked Nightfall until this, and then I liked PvP after this, and then I didn't like this aspect, but it changed, and then it changed again.
Yeah.
It just stop moving. You reset, get a better feel for what you tried to be the first time, and just do it.
If they can capture the magic of their gameplay loop, of the content schedule, because there was just long droughts, so they can if they can figure that out, which, like you said, press briefs and all that, like they say they're going to do it. I'm really hoping they are. We're invested. We've pre-ordered. We've got the first 2 expansions as a part of the package, because I don't mind that. I don't think games are $60. I think games cost $100, and people just haven't really come to accept that price point increase yet. But that's another topic.
No, I paid $60 when I was 10 years old, so it should be the same until I'm 80.
Yeah, I know. Never increasing prices.
Ever.
Inflation is just going to wreck this industry. But that being said, like, from what I've experienced from the beta, like from console to PC, the PC beta feels fantastic. Like, I was like, oh, this is great. They have made some changes, and it feels way better.
Sure.
The console beta felt great too. I'm not knocking that, but it's like, all in all, I was like, okay, cool. Then the ability to jump around, like you said, from content to content. Like, if we're sitting here and we're like, hey, let's go run this adventure or this lost sector or whatever on the map while we wait for our match to pop, because we're going in a competitive match, so we want that MMR. We want to find that right match that's going to challenge us, make us work better as a team, and then it's going to have it should be close.
Sure.
It might take a little longer. If I can queue up for that while participating in the PvE environment, that in and of itself says yes, they figured this out. They already have clans in there, so like I can see my clan.
That looks better.
And there's the cards aren't there.
I'm a little nervous
stories
about
being delivered. Yeah, I mean,
because you're talking about kind of like if you start making a clan where it's like I level it up and stuff, all of a sudden I can't just play with my friends because my friends are in and out of games, and so I'm going to have to leave them to go play with a group of people that will actually give me perks.
Well, we've got our clan. We already established. They allowed us to upgrade it from 1.0.
Okay,
so most of us are actually already in.
But if you're playing 3 nights a week and I'm playing 2 nights a week and all of our other friends play at once, we will never level. So we have to go join other players.
No, like
in their clan.
Everything that people do attributes to our clan level.
But I'm saying, what if we don't have people doing anything?
Okay, well, yeah, we're in trouble. So. but no, they've already got that. The story, the characterizations, because the characters are really interesting, but they were, until Taken King, they were kind of hidden. The story was hidden. It was just like, I kind of would almost equate it as to 1.0, Final Fantasy 1.0. They made some changes, fixed some things. I'm hoping Destiny 2 is like Final Fantasy 2.0, coming in, strong, fast. We figured this out. We've got the fun because we know how to make shooters.
You can't just keep resetting it.
Right.
You can't be the MMO that breaks it so hard that every time they have to say, well, we won't come out with more expansions. We got to do Destiny 3 because Destiny 2 just got a little off. It's like, how many times am I going to buy in?
Better for me in this case isn't a score by some kind of reviewer's opinion. Destiny 2 is, am I going to end up putting more hours into this game than I did in Destiny 1? And that's a high bar. I played Destiny 1 a lot.
You did. You played it a lot more than I did.
Am I going to get more hours for that dollar? And are those hours more entertaining and less grindy in the sense? I don't mind a grind. If you've seen any of our content, we play grindy games. But is it the fun factor to the grind? Is it, am I making progress and feeling that I'm making that progress, having that feedback loop that I figure that it feels like they really kind of learned lots of lessons over the course of 3 years for Destiny 1. I don't want us to learn those lessons again. I want us to have learned, from Destiny 1, and thus Destiny 2 is a good starting point. That, yes, they can make changes. It is that light MMO. It is that shooter. Things will change. That's okay. Anyway, so Chris, what was your least favorite thing from Destiny 1?
So my least favorite thing was honestly the PvP.
Okay.
And it's entirely because they said, okay, we're going to level sync everybody, kind of.
Kind of.
But then we're going to have these guns that have these kind of words on them that say, I get to ignore the rules. And so then it slowly got to the point where if you didn't get out in front early on, you didn't have the right combination of exotics, you were worthless. Mm-hmm. You had just a handful of guns. It's like, oh, all guns shoot at the same speed, except this one, which can shoot infinitely fast. And so really what I want to see from PvP is I want to see that more Halo style, where when I'm in some form of balanced PvP, if you want to have an unbalanced form where it's like larger groups and there's, fine. But when I'm in general, just ranked, I queue with my friends, I follow your rules, it needs to be, okay, everybody's the same level, everybody's got access to the same abilities, everybody starts with the same kind of just basic guns, and then maybe there's power weapons that drop on the level, so you don't have to have the best shotgun, just a shotgun drops on this level.
Yeah, I love to see that actually kind of mode brought into Destiny from that perspective.
Yeah, I just felt that what happened is, okay, so I go off and I farm the exotics because I think it's important. And Brian plays a lot because he plays a lot.
Yeah.
And so he ends up with not only the exotics we need, but every exotic in the game.
So I am now more versatile. Yeah.
Yes.
So, okay, I can come as a sniper.
So when we say there's 50... But then my other friends that only have time to play with us on game night can't. Well, how long is it going to take to get that weapon? Even if there was a guaranteed method. Oh, you got to do 6 nightfalls. Okay, well, I'll see you in a couple weeks.
Like, right, I now can't compete.
Can't do that, and so
I'm holding back the team. And
then what that means is that we're having all this fun. Say all of my friends do keep up, right? In this hypothetical, Now in week 4, I have a friend that wants to join me. Oh yeah, you're gonna get screwed over, man. You're gonna have to pretty much die about
repeatedly
100 or 200 hours, and then you can start occasionally killing people.
There's a natural skill gap in a shooter from both learning how the weapon handles.
Just accuracy does it.
Accuracy, and level, and the level itself. And so no matter what, let's say everything was even, that person coming in 4 weeks in is at a disadvantage because they need to figure out how each gun functions. And then they also need to learn the layout of the map. Like, where are the choke points, where does conflict usually happen, where are the power weapons, or where does power ammo drop from, etc. Those are, I think, fine disadvantages. The fact that you have experience on a level, great, that's awesome. But then all of a sudden it's like, well, you're going to have those disadvantages, and you have the disadvantage of not having the right weapon.
Yep.
And so you're actually,
even when you think you're in the right spot, you still die instantly because I have a better gun than you.
Yeah, and you don't have the option to have that. Now,
correct.
personally, I think they're going that some of that's going to be fixed because the story is feeding the player exotics. So no matter what, you're going to have access to those options.
Assuming those are the best.
Right. Everybody's going to have a base level, and exotics are usually going to be considered the better weapons overall. The Destiny 1 did not feed that to you. They're going to feed you some of those exotics, which, in my mind, I got hooked once I got my first exotic.
What if those are not the best exotics?
Well, then your point's still completely valid. But as an experiment, as an offset, no matter what, hey, you come in, play through the story, which should be fun. If it's not, then so sorry. But it is a part of the game. It incentivizes that, and then all of a sudden, yeah, you have that weapon. How long is it going to take me? A couple hours. Oh, that's not bad. Like, I can do that. Because there is a point where there should be something we ask of people to compete.
Sure.
You shouldn't I shouldn't just show up and just dawn with all the goodies and et cetera. But
and even in Call of Duty and Titanfall and all that, you have to level up to get some freedom of access to certain guns.
Right. But it's the time. 1,000 hours? No, that's too long.
And you start with something decent.
Exactly.
So if you're really good at shooters, you're probably at least going slightly positive right off your first game.
At Destiny 2 PvP, I completely agree with you. And so the question is those exotics, are they going to be...
Yes.
Is there something that exotic A, and then you can go earn exotic B, and B is no matter what going to crush A? I don't know. But if nothing else, that everybody should have access to some of those exotics based off the job.
Okay.
Anyway, just as a point of food for thought, kind of, we'll have to wait and see, next week.
I look forward to exploring all the new worlds. I think there's a lot of good here. Overall, I think Destiny 2 can be better than Destiny 1.
Mm-hmm.
I assume it will be.
Yeah.
That's why I pre-ordered.
Yeah,
because I assume it'll be better, and the other game was already good. The question is how much.
Exactly.
They did not get our buy-in as far as a group. They really only got the two of us because the rest of all of our friends weren't going to play it if there weren't custom games.
And so what we told them, and I think we made the right choice, is that we'll let you know when custom games get added because I don't want them to buy in and burn out right away.
Yep.
I like them.
And if by the time custom games get added, you have to be 20 hours into the story to play PvP, they probably still won't buy in.
Right. And then that's where we're going to advise them on that. Like, hey, you play the story, it's 4 hours, and at the end of it, you're going to have these exotics, and then we jump into custom matches and have a good old time. That sounds like a win.
Yep.
That's going to be something that we're going to have to look at. And I know personally, like, I'm in. Like, Destiny 1 hooked me. I'm in for another round. I'm hoping that we can get our game night guys on it because I think they would enjoy it. But the enjoyment comes from the ability for us to play more than 4 people in competitive style combat. So we'll be letting them know, and I hope, and that's the problem. And then my frustration. We even did a video on it a while back. Was the when, if not now, when are custom games coming to Destiny?
Because you burned me once.
Yeah,
it wasn't like they said
it's coming.
And it came out in 6 weeks.
Year 3. Rise of Iron. Now it applied to everybody, but
then we'd already moved on.
Everybody had already moved on. I was like, yeah, we can do custom games. Everybody's like, I've uninstalled the game. I don't feel like reinstalling it. I'm like, okay. And so that's where I sit, and that's where I think that they need to. Okay, not day one. That's fine, but you got to give us some kind of time frame. You got to give it. You got.
And they didn't come out with ranked. There won't be ranked play at the beginning, which makes sense for most games. That you're going to let people dive into the game before you start putting rankings on it.
Makes sense.
But as somebody who has continually let me down on their content schedule, anytime you don't have something in front of me, I have to assume I'm not getting it at all.
Yeah, and you got to be loud and consistent with the message as to when. Yep. Literally,
Nintendo's going through the same thing with the Switch.
Oh, man.
They burned themselves so hard on the Wii U that nobody trusts them on the Switch. Now, so far on the Switch, they've delivered on every promise they've set.
Mm-hmm.
But they got to do that for a while.
Every month they have to deliver.
Every month they said they were going to do something. It needs to be there. It needs to be right.
Yeah, and that in and of itself can almost be another topic.
So I think Destiny 2 is going to be great. I think that they just need to deliver on what they said they would. No more, no less.
And I guess we'll. So
what do you guys think?
Yeah, let us know. We'll be obviously giving an updated impression and maybe even review when the game is out and we've had ample time to spend in it. Not long indeed. So anyway, from Brian
and Chris
and Work to Game, thanks so much for watching this video, and we hope to see you on our next. But until then, we hope you have a fantastic week.
See you next time.
Thanks so much for watching this video. If you want to check out any other videos You should click over here. And then we've got like some kind of vlog thing down here in the corner. And then we've got like subscribe. Like that's really, you should totally do it. This was a complete disaster.